It takes so long. Hi, everyone, and welcome to our Earth Day event. I can see we already have 4 viewers. Hello to you. My name is Sabuhi, and this is Bhumika.
Hello, everybody.
So, we are from Loham Foundation, as you can see from our t shirts. Loham Foundation is the CSR branch of Loham, and Loham works in battery recycling. And Loham Foundation, we work to increase awareness and knowledge of sustainability amongst children. So we conduct workshops, we organize summer and winter camps, and we also do internship for students from both schools and NGOs. Does anybody know why we celebrate Earth Day? So if you do, go ahead and put in or whatever you know in the comments below. You can also like, share, and subscribe, and also make sure that you share this video with everybody that you know. If you know any information about any of the topics that we're talking about, feel free to add more. Feel free to add it in the comments. It's going to benefit us and everybody else who's watching. So now let's go ahead and talk about Earth Day. Earth Day is celebrated on the 22nd of April every year. And this started way back in the 1970s in the US and is now celebrated globally to support awareness for environmental causes. It's also the largest secular civic movement in the world, with over 1 billion people from 193 countries celebrating it. Earth Day serves as a reminder of the importance of caring for our planet and taking action to preserve its natural resources. This year, the theme for Earth Day is Planet versus Plastics.
We'll be joined by many experts here at Loham, including Alekhya, Bitan, Anjali, Pooja, Sanjay, and Abhishek. They'll talk to us about plastic, what is it made of, and what is it composed of, safe methods to dispose it, and why is it harmful for our planet. And the most fun part, we'll show you some experiments that we have conducted in our lab with plastics. And I'm sure you would like your friends to watch this cool stuff too. So share this link with your friends and invite them to join us. And if you have any questions, as Subhuvi said, you can mention them in the comment box.
So now let's watch a little video on Loham Foundation, just so you get a little bit of flavor of the kind of work. Here we go. Sorry about that. We always have some technical glitches as we go live. Okay, so now back to the topic of today's webinar, which is planet versus plastics. First of all, did you know that plastic was actually invented way back in 1862 by a person called Alexander Parks, and he called it Parksine, which is what most famous people do, or most people do when they discover or invent something, they name it after themselves. However, this was not widely used back then because it wasn't very good quality. So then, a few years later, in 1907, a fully synthetic form of plastic was formed by a person called Leo Hendrik Baekeland, and he called it Bakelite, also after himself. Now, this plastic that we use today is cheap, easy to produce, and it has a lot of uses. It keeps food fresh for longer. It is also lightweight, and so it can be used for cars and even parts of aeroplanes to make them lighter. Since it's lightweight, durable, and versatile, humans have used it extensively. And also, it's cost effective, which makes us use it a lot more. So, if you can just think about, and you can also put this in the comments below, but can you think about all the things that are around you just now that are made of plastic? And you can put some of them in the comments below. Like I can tell you, I'm using this mouse and it is made of plastic. Now, plastic, what is plastic? So, plastic is a type of material that is made by humans. It can be turned into all sorts of shapes, like toys, bottles, and even parts for cars and aeroplanes. So, plastic is made from tiny building blocks that are called monomers, which are like tiny little pieces of a puzzle or even small beads in a necklace. When we heat up these monomers and mix them together, they turn into something called polymers, which stick together like a long chain. So you can think about this. If you want to think about an example, this can be something like a necklace made out of many small beads. So the because of these beads or because of the polymers, plastic is strong and flexible, which means that it can bend without breaking very easily. And one of the reasons it is so popular is because of this. It's super handy. Now, again, think about all the things that you're using plastic for. It could be your lunchbox, a bottle, toys, computer, phone cases, and it comes in all sorts of colors and shapes as well. But I'm going to be using my notes because I don't remember everything that easily. But there's a lot of problems with plastics too. Have you ever noticed how much plastic litter there is around you? For instance, if you go out right now, you might even find a few bottles outside your house. And even in the garbage dumps, people usually throw plastic around and not always inside. So you might see candy wrappers, chips packets, even cold drink bottles on the floor. So plastic can end up as litter and it's not always thrown away properly. And this can make the planet very dirty, messy, and it can hurt a lot of plants and animals. And when plastic ends up in the oceans, it's really bad for sea creatures. They might accidentally eat it thinking it's food. For instance, because plastic bags are so colorful, a lot of animals think that they are jellyfish and eat them. And then they get sick, of course. It can also get tangled up with animals like seals, turtles, and that's really dangerous for them. Bhumika is going to tell us a little bit more about plastic.
Yes. That is why, as Subi said, that is why it is very essential for us to use it wisely and also minimize its use. We can help by using reusable things and like metallic water bottle and also lunch containers. And when we are done with the plastic items, we can also recycle them if possible, so that they can be turned into new things and instead of ending up as litter. Scientists and inventors are also working on cool ways to deal with this plastic waste. Some are finding ways to turn plastic into new items, like recycling a toy for you, or so that you don't, if you're not playing with it anymore, so you can recycle it. And also, it can be turned into something brand new. That is quite crazy, right? So others, we can also make biodegradable plastics that break down easily and doesn't stick too long in our environment. So plastic is amazing for all the things, and it helps us to do a lot, like making our toys fun. And also, we need to be very mindful of how we use it by being smart about using plastic and making sure to recycle it and also reduce its consumption, so that we can ensure keeping our planet clean and healthy for everyone.
So we've talked about plastic, but it wasn't and how useful it is. We've also talked about how it pollutes everything. So did you actually know that it wasn't when plastic was made way back in the early 1900s? It wasn't until 1960s, which is about 65 years ago, that people realized how harmful plastic was. So until that time, we were using it. But in the 1970s, people realized it was only in the 1970s that people realized that white plastic doesn't go away at all, that it only breaks down into smaller pieces called microplastics, which we can't even see. And this is a problem because even though we have this information, we still haven't actually reduced our plastic consumption. So now I'm going to show you a little video on decomposition of plastic and organic compounds. Let's see. Here we go. All right. So as you saw,
You would have noticed that a doll made of cotton, it decomposes very quickly. It takes around few weeks to a month. But the doll's hair that was made up of wool, it takes around 3 to 4 months. But when it comes to something like wood from a tree, it depends on its size. A medium-sized branch, it can take about 50 to 100 years to fully decompose. On the other hand, a medium-sized branch or a smaller branch like twigs, it can take around 2 to 3 years. Otherwise, a whole tree trunk can take around 100 years to fully decompose.
and on the other hand, plastic was completely different. I don't know if you noticed, but while the doll was decomposing, the tree was kind of getting slightly smaller, but the plastic remained the same for many, many, many years, many decades. And it wasn't until I think about 500 years that plastic even started decomposing slightly, and even then it broke into these tiny little dots, which were microplastics. So what happens is instead of breaking down like natural materials do, plastic only decomposes. It doesn't decompose. It just breaks down into smaller plastics called microplastics that we can't even see, and then they go into our soil and they go into our water. And during that decomposition, natural materials like cotton, wool, and wood release carbon dioxide and small amounts of other gases like methane into the air. And this is required, this is a part of the natural process. They also release a few things like nitrogen and other nutrients into the soil. And for these are important nutrients for the soil and they benefit plant growth. However, when plastic decomposes, or rather when it breaks down, it also releases harmful and toxic materials, chemicals into our soil. And they are bad for us. And now we're going to learn a little bit more about these plastics.
Okay, so overall, you are saying that decomposition of natural material contributes to the health of the environment by providing nutrients and also supporting the plant growth. In contrast, decomposition of plastic, it is really harmful and it releases pollutant and it causes risk to even the environment and also to the human health.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. And the problem with this is that even though we know about it, we haven't done that much. So now the next thing I'm going to share with you is a little video. We're gonna hear from our first expert, and I'm gonna let
Yeah.
Bhumika introduce her.
Okay, so our first expert here is Alekhya. I would like to introduce her. So she is a R&D researcher here, and she's involved in the process development in the extraction of precious group material. So, and she'll talk about single-use plastic today. So let's hear her.
And if you have any questions or if you have any comments about anything Alekhya is mentioning, or if something very new happened that you didn't know about, be sure to put them in the comments, and we will get her to answer them for you.
So, hi guys, I am Alekhya. I am currently working as a researcher in Loham R&D. So, today let's talk about the single-use plastics. So, firstly, can you guys comment on what do you know about single-use plastics? Just let us understand what single-use plastics are. So, these single-use plastics are designed for one-time use and then we'll be throwing them away. For example, in our daily lives, we use so many kinds of single-use plastics like plastic bags, plastic covers we get when we go for shopping. The water bottle, plastic water bottles or clothing bottles we got, all these come under single-use plastics. And also the plastic cutlery we get when we get something outside for eating. So all these are included in the single-use plastics. Apart from this, the most commonly used single-use plastics are the wrappers on the bottles, where we get the information about the brand and the product. So all these come under single-use plastics, which can be only used once, and we'll be discarding them without any second use. So about 36% of all the plastics we are manufacturing in the world are comes under packaging only. Uh, Apart from this, the single-use plastics, they will not be decomposed, but they will be uh, break down into smaller microplastics. So there is no way we can destroy the plastics in this world. And uh, just to get you familiar with the single-use plastics, I bet you all know the balloons we use in our parties, right? You cannot even imagine the party without balloons, but that's the problem because the plastics are involved with our day-to-day lives to the extent that we use them even though they are so much harmful for the human life, for the whole planet. Apart from these, the plastics, all kinds of single-use plastics release greenhouse gases at all the stages of their life. So if you guys don't know what greenhouse gases are, let me explain it. So greenhouse gases are the gases in the Earth atmosphere that can trap heat. So that means because of these gases, the planet's surface temperature increases rapidly, and this phenomenon is called global warming. So these gases are so harmful that they release greenhouse gases at each and every stage of their life. So coming to the waste we generate, in 2021 we have generated around 139 million metric tons of single-use plastic waste. That is so much of plastic which cannot be decomposed. That means it is lying up around our daily life, like around our homes, around our schools, in the landfills and in the waste dumps, which is only converted to microplastics, but it is not decomposing. So even though government has imposed many restrictions on the uses of the plastics, but in these days also we are seeing so much of plastic lying around us. Uh, I think you can also comment on the different kinds of single-use plastics you have used in your day-to-day, you are using in your day-to-day lives. And apart from these, uh, you also understood like what single-use plastics are and what kinds of plastics you will be using in day-to-day life. So please let me know what you guys have understood about single-use plastics, and if you can comment your views on single-use plastics, it would be great.
So that was Alekhya, and she is one of our superstars. She's also going to be joining us for our Q&A. As you might have noticed, this session was recorded, and there's a reason for that. We have so many emergencies here at Loham. We have to make sure that we wanted to make sure that you got all the information that you could, and so we decided that we would record it. Now, getting back to the topic at hand. I don't know if you heard, 139 million metric tons of single-use plastic waste was generated back in 2021. That is just about 3 years ago. And that is a lot of plastics. I asked AI to equate 139 million metric tons of plastic with something that we could comprehend, and it just gave me an even more baffling figure, which was 23 million African elephants. Now, I mean, I can just barely imagine five. Can't even imagine what 23 million would look like, but there you go. So, did you know that we use that much plastic in our daily lives? I didn't. No wonder this year International Earth Day's theme was Planet versus Plastics, because it's now become a fight for just our survival and the survival of our planet. So I hope that we make a big change in our usage and wastage patterns, so that in 25, 26, and even just starting today, the figures are completely different. We also learned that single-use plastics mostly end up in landfills and that they release greenhouse gases throughout their life cycle. Can anyone give me some examples of greenhouse gases? I've already spoken about a few of them when I was talking about plastics. But if you know any, you can just go ahead and mention them in the comments. The other thing is that single-use plastics never decompose. They just break down into smaller pieces called microplastics. So next, we're going to talk about microplastics.
And because I want to know more about it, let's call Bitan. He's a R&D manager and he is involved in the extraction of precious metal from ore and other resources. So let's call him for this session.
Just give me a second. I'm going to load the video. In the meantime, I wanted to ask you, Bhumika, before we started doing the research for this Earth Day event, how much did you know about how much did you know about plastics, plastic consumption, and plastic wastage?
Okay, so I knew about we use a lot amount of plastics, and but that news that you said about 23 million of African elephants,
Yeah.
that was quite crazy. So yes, I would like to know more about it because it's huge. The plastic that we consume in our daily lives, it's huge.
It is. All right, so here's Bitan.
Myself, Vimal Mathur. I work at Loham as a researcher, and I work in the field of metal recycling from its own. So this topic that we are going to talk about is about the microplastics and how are they harming human beings, and what is the source of the microplastic of getting inside your body and all. See, माइक्रोप्लास्टिक इज नथिंग बट अ प्लास्टिक मतलब माइक्रोप्लास्टिक प्लास्टिक जो होता है जब वो प्लास्टिक टूट टूट के इरोड होते होते एकदम छोटे से छोटे कोने में आ जाता है मतलब when it is in nano particle that time it is what we call as microplastics. So now there are basically three ways from where it is getting inside your body and how it is harming you. So the first is your air, water, and the soil. So once you guys have remember right in your childhood that while you were playing, you had left your toys and you had forgot, and then it has gone buried deep inside the earth, or you had gone to some sea beaches and all where you have forgot your toys and all. Or we have also seen it many times that while you're visiting the seashore or the river banks with our parents and all, कि बहुत सारे प्लास्टिक बॉटल्स, बहुत सारे प्लास्टिक्स, बहुत सारे फिशिंग नेट्स एंड ऑल ये सब ऐसे सैंड के मतलब शोर के इधर आ जाते हैं. सो माइक्रोप्लास्टिक्स के तीन सोर्सेस हैं जहाँ से वो आपके शरीर में आते हैं that it get inside of your body, and those three things are air, water, and soil. Now we'll segregate these three things and we will talk briefly about it. So first is your air. Air means whatever the pollution that is the car is producing when you are using the firecrackers on the Diwali. जब आप लोग पटाखे फोड़ते हो, जब आप लोग कुछ ये जलाते हो, that contains any amount of polyethylene, polytetrafluoroethylene, और जब आप अपने टेफ्लॉन वाले कपड़े या फिर मतलब टेट्राफ्लोरोइथिलीन वाले मतलब PTFE ऐसा पॉलीएस्टर्स वाले कोई भी कपड़े आप जब उसको वॉश करते हो, फिर आप जब उसको सुखाने के लिए डालते हो, तो क्या होता है कि वॉशिंग और वो सुखाने के टाइम पे वो मतलब जो आपके कपड़े पॉलीटेफ्लॉन जो कपड़े आते हैं, पॉलीएस्टर जो कपड़े जाते हैं, वो क्या होते हैं कि वो मतलब टूट के इट फॉर्म्स इनटू माइक्रोप्लास्टिक्स एंड इट इज सो लाइट, वो हवा के मॉलिक्यूल्स के साथ वो पूरे हमारे आसपास में हमारे वातावरण में घूमते रहते हैं. The air that you take a breath in at that time, so it is getting inside your body and it is just accumulating on your lungs. So, and why is it harmful for microplastic? Why are they harmful? Because see, these plastics, they are very toxic in nature. And as we all know, हमें जैसे हम आप सबको हमें पता है कि हमारा बॉडी का एक certain pH होता है, and we maintain it as an alkaline pH. सो दिस पॉली ये माइक्रोप्लास्टिक्स इतने छोटे होते हैं कि ये हमारे ब्लड के साथ मिक्स होकर हमारे अंदर फिर हमारा तबीयत खराब करते हैं, हमें डिसीजेस देते हैं. सो दिस इज द वन सोर्स फॉर एयर पॉल्यूशन इज एयर, हाउ इट इज गेटिंग इनसाइड योर बॉडी. द सेकंड सोर्स इज द सॉइल. तो सॉइल मीन्स वो जो आपने देखा होगा कि यू हैव सीन दिस ऑल सॉलिड वेस्ट डंप यार्ड्स एंड ऑल, मतलब आपके घर के आपके लोकेलिटी के कचरे लेके एक जगह पे कचरे वाला डंप करते हैं, उसको हम बोलते हैं कि सॉलिड डंप यार्ड, सॉलिड वेस्ट डंप. सो उसमें क्या होता है कि उसमें प्लास्टिक्स, आपके गार्बेज बैग्स, दो इट इज बायोडिग्रेडेबल, कंपनी दे आर सेइंग कि आप हमारा प्लास्टिक बैग यूज करो कचरा रखने के लिए कि ये बायोडिग्रेडेबल है, बट एवरीथिंग दैट दे आर सेइंग व्हिचएवर इज अ पॉलीएस्टर और पॉलीटेफ्लॉन और PTFE, दैट इज अ प्लास्टिक. Polyethylene is a plastic. सो पॉलीइथिलीन को आप चाहे कितना भी उसको इंटरेक्ट कर दो, कितना भी उसको डेरिवेटिव्स निकाल दो, इट विल बी ए पॉलीइथिलीन एट द एंड। सो वो होता है आपका माइक्रोप्लास्टिक। जब वो सॉलिड डंप यार्ड में, सॉलिड वेस्ट डंप यार्ड में और टाइम रहने के बाद धीरे 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 वो आपका मतलब डिकम्पोज होता है। तो इट ब्रेक डाउन इनटू सम स्मॉल पीसेस, इट फॉर्म्स दिस योर माइक्रोप्लास्टिक compounds, and then you get inside the groundwater, it contaminates it. And from there, when you are doing the gardening or while whatever you are doing, whatever the crops that you are cultivating, so the crops, what it does, it just take the water from the groundwater. So already the groundwater is contaminated with the microplastics, right? So whenever the plant is taking the water along with the microplastics, and whenever it is giving you some fruits, so it has been seen in recent studies that the fruit is also being contaminated with this microplastics. Goes for your second source, that is through soil. Now comes the third source. Third source का सबसे majority source जो होता है, the major source for your microplastic pollutants contamination is the fishing net, fishing wire. वो सब नायलॉन का बना हुआ होता है। फिर जितने भी तरीके का हम लोग मतलब ये यूज करते हैं, मतलब आपका मछली पकड़ने का जो जितना भी हम लोग मतलब इक्विपमेंट्स यूज करते हैं, those are all made of plastics. So, or as we all know, we have seen Discovery Channel, National Geographic channels, right? कि हमें पता है कि हम हर साल कितने सारे रिवर्स को मतलब ऐसे कंटेमिनेशन होने से बचा रहे हैं, कितने सारे हम ओशंस पे हमारा काम चल रहा है कि वी आर डूइंग आवर थिंग व्हिच आर बेस्ड फॉर कि हम कैसे ओशंस और रिवर्स को प्लास्टिक कंटेमिनेशन से बचा सकें। देयर आर टीम्स फ्रॉम डिफरेंट कंट्रीज those who are willingly supporting for this cause कि we need to free our oceans and rivers from plastic contaminations. So अभी इधर क्या होता है कि इधर जो आपका ओशन या रिवर में जो आपका प्लास्टिक जो उधर रह गया है, वो धीरे धीरे क्या वाटर प्रेशर के कारण वो इरोड होता है, डिकम्पोज होता है, और डिकम्पोज होकर फॉर्म्स द माइक्रोप्लास्टिक पार्टिकल्स. Now those particles are easily, you cannot see it on naked eyes. Okay, so मतलब आप खुले आँख से आप देख नहीं सकते माइक्रोप्लास्टिक के पार्टिकल्स. तो सेम गोज फॉर द एक्वाटिक एंड मैरीन एनिमल्स. तो जब कोई मछली मतलब वो कंटेमिनेटेड वाटर में आती है, तो वो जब जो रेस्पिरेशन करती है थ्रू गिल्स के थ्रू, तो उसके अंदर वो माइक्रोप्लास्टिक्स अंदर जाता है. जब हम उस मछली को मतलब पकड़ के फिर when we cook them and when we eat them, it gets inside our body also. And remember, those plastic that will be there inside the fish as it is coming to your body. So it will not get decomposed or it will not get come out of you. So इसी reasons के वजह से हम लोग क्या करते हैं कि we are trying to do कि we need to stop this ये use of plastic completely. We need to search for some better alternatives like use jute, use glass, or use paper, art papers. So this is what I recommend. So thank you all. Thank you for seeing.
So I know the volume on that wasn't super clear, and so we're going to just do a little bit of a recap, just so you know what transpired there. And after our recap, we're going to go into our experiments. So here's what we're going to do now. I'm going to just take you through a recap of what Bitan talked about microplastics. Microplastics are tiny little pieces of plastic that are the small microscopic elements that you can't actually see. And this is what happens when plastic breaks down over time. Now, what happens is when these plastic pieces are so small, and we haven't actually been able to completely filter them out of our purification systems. And things as simple as when you wash something made out of polyester. Now, most of us have clothing that is made out of polyester. A lot of us have bags, shoes, a lot of things that are made out of polyester. Polyester is basically a compound. It's kind of like what plastic is made of. I mean, something that is plastic essentially. And so what happens is when you wash that polyester outfit, microplastics are released into the atmosphere, and we breathe that air. When cars drive, because of the heat, when the tires are moving, microplastics are released into the air, and again we breathe it. For water and soil, what happens is, first of all, a lot of us just throw plastic around. we don't always recycle it, we don't take care of it. And then what happens again is when rain falls, a lot of pieces of plastic go into the soil, a lot of the chemicals leach into the soil, and that soil also becomes part of groundwater. The other thing is, a lot of times, I'm not sure if you've ever done this, but I definitely remember dropping some toys maybe in a river, or even leaving things behind. And that happens a lot when you leave a piece of plastic behind somewhere. And because you forget about it, and it, like I said, it doesn't go anywhere. What happens is that again breaks down, it becomes a becomes microplastic. And these are things that contaminate our water, they also contaminate our soil, and they contaminate our air, and then we breathe those things in. And microplastics are so difficult because again you can't see them, so you don't really know what's happening. And because water filtration is not happening properly, even sometimes you will get microplastics through the food that you eat, like if you eat seafood. But sometimes even if you just drink water, because where does our water come from, right? It comes from our natural water bodies. So if the filtration is not adequate, which it's not, which usually it isn't always adequate, that microplastic will go into your system through water. So now microplastics, as we've understood, is in the air we breathe, it's in the water that we drink, and it's in the food that we eat too. Because what happens is, like I said, the microplastic will seep and leach into the soil, and also we're washing plants with sometimes reuse water, but even generally groundwater. So these microplastic is part of the nutrients that gets absorbed by plants, and that's basically what we're eating, right? We're eating those plants. So I mean, it's basically in the food that we eat, whether you eat meat or whether you eat plants, it's basically everywhere. It's in the air you breathe. So I don't know about you, but this is definitely something that's motivating me to use a lot less plastic. Now imagine if every time you ate your favorite snack, you accidentally swallowed a tiny bit of plastic. So scientists have realized that even newborn babies have tiny bits of microplastic in them, and this is because mothers, even when they're pregnant with babies, because they're consuming plastic, so this happens with the plastic microplastics goes into the babies as well. But even apart from that, when the babies are born, when they are breastfed by their mother, those tiny bits of microplastics go into their bodies. And if they're bottle fed, there are some types of bottles that are made of something called polypropylene, and these release tiny bits of plastic, and babies eat those tiny bits of, like, drink those tiny bits of plastic. In fact, in a study done by scientists back in October 2020, it was found that babies swallowed as many as 4.5 million of these tiny pieces of plastic every day. This also happens. This is a very, very, very scary thing, but it also happens to kids as they become older, because again, babies eat food. I mean, so do kids. Children eat food, and they might unknowingly swallow tiny bits of plastic particles. Another study found that babies and little kids have a lot more tiny plastic bits in their poop. So this is than grown-ups do, and this is because their bodies are trying to get rid of the plastic. More from Bhumika.
Yeah, actually, this is a big deal because plastic in our body is not good for our health. It makes us sick, and also while we are growing, it causes many problems. And that is why it is super important for us to try using plastic as less as possible, and also keep it out from our eating items like food and drinks. And we have learned a lot more about plastic, and we now know that it is created by a lot of by host of everyday human activities, and even by the process of making plastics. So thank you, Bidan, and also Subuhi, for taking us through all of these scary thoughts, scary facts, and reality about microplastics. Now, who would like to see some experiments? Okay, so let's now have Anjali, who is a project executive, and she works on the process flow diagram and utility flow diagram. And also, let us call Pooja with her. She is also a project executive to show us some experiments.
Project executive and coordinator. So we're going to see some experiments, and again, like I said, a lot of these segments are pre-recorded, and there is a reason why we pre-recorded the experiments. It's because these were done in our lab, so you won't be able to hear anything. But we're going to have Pooja and Anjali talk first. So what we told them is, let's imagine that we know nothing about plastics and how to get rid of them. So let's go in with that clear blank slate and see what happens if we burn some plastic. So let's see what happens.
हम पहले तो प्लास्टिक के ऊपर एक एक्सपेरिमेंट करने वाले हैं। देखेंगे कि प्लास्टिक को जलाने के बाद क्या होता है। मैं नहीं पता कि प्लास्टिक जलने के बाद बचता है या नहीं।
ओके, ठीक है। जैसे आज एक एक्सपेरिमेंट करेंगे हम लोग, एक प्लास्टिक को जलाएंगे। तो देखेंगे उसमें जो फ्यूम निकलते हैं उसमें क्या होता है नहीं होता है, उसमें क्या हार्मफुल है या नहीं है एनवायरनमेंट के लिए एंड ह्यूमन बॉडी के लिए। एक एक्सपेरिमेंट करने के बाद वो देखते हैं। लेट्स स्टार्ट एक्सपेरिमेंट। हम लोग एक बॉटल लेंगे प्लास्टिक का एंड जला के देखेंगे क्या इससे फ्यूम होता है। एंड एक एक्सपेरिमेंट और करेंगे, एक ऑरेंज का पीस लेंगे एंड वो भी हम जलाएंगे। यस,
जलाने के बाद किस तरीके की उसकी फोर्स है,
ओके
जो कि टॉक्सिक है या फिर नहीं।
Okay, let's start our first experiment and then we will start the next experiment. हम लोग अभी एक एक्सपेरिमेंट करके आए हैं, बट मेक श्योर ये एक्सपेरिमेंट हमें घर में नहीं ट्राई करना है। हमने एक बॉटल लिया, प्लास्टिक का बॉटल, और वो हमने जलाए एंड देन उसके प्लास्टिक बॉटल के जलाने के बाद उसमें से कुछ फ्यूम्स निकला। फ्यूम्स के अंदर से काफ़ी ज़्यादा फ्यूम्स ब्लैक था, और वो फ्यूम्स में आपका कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड था एंड कार्बन मोनोऑक्साइड भी था, और जो बहुत हार्मफुल है ह्यूमन बॉडी के लिए। एंड नेक्स्ट
मैंने जैसा कि देखा उसमें जो इसका फ्लेमेबल है, उसके बाद जब इसका बर्न करना वो पूरी तरीके से बर्न नहीं किया है, नॉन बायोडिग्रेडेबल है और वो पूरी तरीके से बर्न नहीं होगा। प्लास्टिक चाहे उसको कितना भी जलाओ, कैसे भी रिसाइकल करो, वो रिसाइकल नहीं होगा। और वो उसमें से कुछ हाइड्रोकार्बन्स और नाइट्रोजन ऑक्साइड जैसी गैसेस भी निकल रही है, जो कि हमारे नाक और आँख को बहुत ज़्यादा हार्मफुल करेंगी और ब्रीदिंग को भी दिक्कत पहुँचाएंगी। सांस लेने में काफ़ी ज़्यादा दिक्कत होगी उससे, और इसी के साथ एनवायरनमेंट को काफ़ी ज़्यादा हार्मफुल बनाएंगी। रेस्पिरेटरी जिसको प्रॉब्लम से सांस लेने की, उन लोगों के लिए बहुत ज़्यादा हार्मफुल है।
एंड यू ऑल्सो मेक श्योर दैट
इसको घर में बिल्कुल भी ट्राई नहीं करना है, बिकॉज प्लास्टिक बहुत ज़्यादा फ्लेमेबल है। इसके साथ में कुछ भी टच होगा तो वो बहुत जल्दी जल जाएगा।
हम लोग अभी जो अभी एक्सपेरिमेंट किया है वो हमने फ्यूम कोड के सामने एक्सपेरिमेंट किया है। जैसे कि लैब में बेसिकली वो क्या होता है ना, जितना सारा फ्यूम क्रिएट हुआ वो सारा डक्ट के अंदर से बाहर चला गया।
और कार्डबोर्ड को जला के देखा, बिकॉज ऑफ कि ऑरेंज पील जो था वो हमारा बर्न नहीं हो रहा था, फिर भी थोड़ी बहुत फ्यूम्स आई थी उसमें से, जो कि ऑरेंज की थी। इस वजह से हम लोगों ने ट्राई किया कार्डबोर्ड को जलाकर, जिसमें स्मोक था और
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल। जैसे हम लोग ऑरेंज पील्स को जलाए, बट वो वेट था इसीलिए प्रॉपर जला नहीं पाया, फिर भी वहाँ से फ्यूम निकला। अगर वो ऑरेंज पील से हमारा ड्राई होता तो मोस्ट ऑफ द फ्यूम वहाँ से भी निकलता एंड वो भी हार्मफुल है एटमोसफियर के लिए। बट फिर भी मेक श्योर कोई भी एक्सपेरिमेंट, चाहे वो कार्डबोर्ड हो, ऑरेंज पील्स हो, हमें घर में नहीं ट्राई करना है, उसमें से हमें अवॉइड करना है। ये भी ध्यान दे देना चाहिए, जो इनमें से तीनों एक्सपेरिमेंट थे, हमने प्लास्टिक भी जलाया, कार्डबोर्ड भी जलाए एंड ऑरेंज पील्स भी जलाए, बट मैक्सिमम जो हार्मफुल है वो हमारे प्लास्टिक से। सो मेक श्योर उससे हम दूर रहे, वो हम जलाए ना, जितना हो सके हम अवॉइड करके चलें।
So as we saw, I don't know if you managed to see those experiments. I love seeing science at work. But as we saw, when plastic was released, there were a lot of harmful gases. In fact, it was actually black, which you couldn't see. Like I was standing right behind them when I was recording this, so it was easy for me to see. And because of the fume hood, we actually couldn't smell anything at all. And the idea to burn organic materials alongside the plastic was to illustrate the difference between the gases that are produced and how organic substances and plastic react to the same stimulus, such as heat. The gases released by plastic were very harmful to us and to the planet, which included hydrocarbons, nitrogen peroxide, carbon dioxide, and carbon monoxide, and also tiny particles called PM2, which are the particles in the air that cause harmful and high levels of pollution. Now, plastic actually burned quite quickly, but it also was melting, and that's what happens because it's so flammable.
Okay.
Cardboard burnt. Cardboard burnt a little fast as well. The orange peel didn't, but that's because the orange peel was wet. If the orange peel wasn't that wet, it probably would have burnt quickly as well. So now you let us know what you thought of the experiments. Again, please keep commenting.
Okay, so we have learned a lot about plastic, where it come from, and what are microplastic. But still, I think there's an important information that is missing. That is, what do we do with all of this information? We have all of this information, but what exactly to do? So this is my cue to invite our fifth expert to the webinar. So please welcome our expert Sanjay Negi. He'll talk about what actions can we take to reduce our plastic consumption.
So here we go. I hope that the things that Sanjay talks about are things all of us actually put into practice as well.
Hello, good evening, good morning, जब भी आप देख रहे हो. I'm Dr. Sanjay Singh Negi. I work at Loham Clean Tech. So यहाँ पर हम क्या करते हैं, आप सब जानते हो कि लिथियम आयन बैटरीज आपके मोबाइल्स में यूज़ होती हैं, लैपटॉप्स में यूज़ होती हैं, और इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल्स आजकल स्टार्ट हो गए उनमें यूज़ होती है. तो जो भी मतलब कि रिचार्जेबल, जहाँ पर मतलब कि पोर्टेबल बनाना है, कि मतलब कि पावर से दूर यूज़ करना है, जैसे मोबाइल है, हम कहीं भी ऑन द ट्रैवल हम यूज़ करते हैं, तो बेसिकली वहाँ पर विदाउट बैटरी दे वॉन्ट वर्क. तो अब कैसा है कि आप इसको देखते होगे, कई बार चार्ज करते होगे, कई बार डिस्चार्ज होता होगा, तो ऐसे बहुत बार करने के बाद अल्टीमेटली उसकी लाइफ डिक्रीज हो जाती है. तो उसको या तो फिर दो ही चीज़ें, या तो फिर उसको थ्रो कर दो, या फिर उसको कुछ मतलब कि उसको प्रोसेस प्रिपेयर किया जाए ताकि वो रीयूज हो सके. तो लोहम क्लीन टेक पे बेसिकली हम एज अ साइंटिस्ट यही काम करते हैं कि जो यूज हो चुकी है बैटरी, तो चेक करते कि वो और किसी पर्पस में काम आ सकती हैं. अगर वो नहीं हो पाता तो फिर उसमें से उसको कैसे डिसअसेंबल किया जाए. और जैसे कि आप केमिस्ट्री क्लास में पढ़ते होगे, लिथियम, कोबाल्ट, निकल, कॉपर, ये सब एलिमेंट्स, तो ये सब अर्थ से मिलते हैं हमें, और इसका भी खर्चा है, इसका भी एनवायरनमेंट पे इफेक्ट है. तो बेसिकली अगर हम लिथियम आयन बैटरीज जो यूज्ड सेल फोन्स, उनमें से ये एलिमेंट्स निकाल सकें और दोबारा से यूज़ कर सकें, तो एक तरफ से लोड कम आता है नेचर पे, जहाँ पर माइनिंग हो रही है, और जो डेड सेल्स हैं उनका भी एक तरीके से दूसरा यूज़ हो सकता है. तो ये ऑलवेज बेटर रहता है कि रिसाइकल किया जाए उनको, एज सच उनको डंप ना किया जाए. इसी को आगे मूव करते हुए, अब तक आपने समझ लिया होगा कि प्लास्टिक ऑलमोस्ट हर जगह है. आपके बैग्स नायलॉन के बने हुए हैं, आपके प्लास्टिक बॉटल्स पॉलीथीन पीईटी मटेरियल की बनी होती हैं, और सिमिलरली पेन्स आप यूज़ करते होगे, तो आजकल आई थिंक यूज़ एंड थ्रो पेन्स यूज़ करते होगे, वो 10 रुपये वाले छोटे वाले पेन, बॉल पॉइंट पेन्स. तो तो साइंस ने मतलब हेल्प तो करा है ये नए मटेरियल्स बना के और लाइफ को काफ़ी ईजी करके, बट अब सिचुएशन क्या है कि ये इतना ज़्यादा एक्सटेंसिवली यूज़ होने लग गए हैं, तो ये हमारे बेसिकली हमारे एनवायरनमेंट, हमारे आसपास यानी कि हमारे जल स्रोत और हमारी मतलब सॉइल आसपास और हमारी फूड साइकिल, उन सब चीज़ों में आने लग गए हैं। तो ये कहीं ना कहीं मतलब आगे डिजीज कॉजिंग है और इतनी जल्दी डिग्रेड नहीं होते, तो इट एड्स टू मतलब लॉट गंदगी फैलाते हैं। और जैसे समुद्र में भी आपने देखा होगा कि वहाँ पर मतलब पड़े रहते हैं, तो उसको मतलब डिकम्पोज होने में बहुत टाइम लग जाता है। तो क्या कर सकते हैं हम इसके बारे में? तो अब जैसे प्लास्टिक के बारे में आपको पता होगा कुछ, तो जैसे रीयूजेबल और माइक्रो प्लास्टिक्स हैं, और कुछ होते हैं जैसे आपके फ्रिज हो गए, वॉशिंग मशीन हो गए, टीवीज हो गए, इसमें भी प्लास्टिक है, बट वो सिंगल यूज़ नहीं है, उसको दोबारा से यूज़ किया सकता है। तो बेसिकली जो सिंगल यूज़ प्लास्टिक कौन सा है आपके, जो प्लास्टिक आपके चिप्स के रैपर्स में हैं और पानी की बॉटल्स में हैं, तो इनको अगर अवॉइड कर सकें तो ये बेस्ट तरीका होगा। जहाँ पर आप मतलब कि अपने जैसे फूड पैकिंग करके लेके जाते हो, मतलब बाहर रेस्टोरेंट से पैक करवाते हो, तो वहाँ पर ये सब चीज़ें लगती हैं, तो वहाँ अगर इन सब चीज़ों को अवॉइड किया जाए और अपना सामान अपना मतलब कि टिफिन उस टाइप से लेके जा रहे हो और उसको उसमें सामान लेके जा रहे हो और फिर से जैसे उसको धो के फिर से यूज़ किया, सिमिलरली जैसे पेन है उसकी जगह इंक पेन यूज़ किया जाए, क्योंकि वो रीयूज़ कर सकते हैं। तो ये एक तरीके से हम कम कर सकते हैं। और वैसे ही जैसे कपड़े हैं, कपड़ों में भी नायलॉन आता है, तो उसको भी अगर हम सेकंड प्रायोरिटी पे लेके आए और पहले जैसे गर्मियों में तो वैसे भी कॉटन अच्छा रहता है, तो उसको यूज़ किया जाए, तो इस तरीके से हम कम कर सकते हैं। और सिमिलरली जैसे अगर आप पेप्सी या फिर कुछ भी ड्रिंक पीते हैं तो उसमें स्ट्रॉ यूज़ किया जाता है, तो वो अगर स्विच करें हम मतलब कि बायोडिग्रेडेबल कागज़ का या फिर जूट का बैम्बू का बनाया जाए उस टाइप से, तो अगर शिफ्ट करें तो धीरे धीरे ये हो सकता है। और बाकी फिर साइंटिफिक लेवल पे और पॉलिसी लेवल पे भी गवर्नमेंट प्लान कर ही रही है और साइंटिस्ट भी ट्राई कर ही रहे हैं कि कैसे करके ये जो डिग्रेड नहीं होते पॉलीथीन, उसको यूजिंग माइक्रो बैक्टीरियाज या फिर यूजिंग सर्टेन केमिकल मेथड उसको दूसरे फॉर्म में कन्वर्ट किया जाए, डायरेक्ट डंप ना किया जाए। जैसे माइक्रो एल्गी है, उससे अगर प्लास्टिक को कंज्यूम करके बायोफ्यूल्स बनाया जाए, सिमिलरली केमिकल मेथड से प्लास्टिक को कन्वर्ट करके डीजल, पेट्रोल या फिर हाइड्रोकार्बन्स फॉर्म किए जाए, शॉर्ट चेन हाइड्रोकार्बन्स, लॉन्ग चेन हाइड्रोकार्बन्स। तो हाँ, ये सब पॉसिबल मेथड्स हैं। इसके बारे में हमें सोचना ही पड़ेगा, क्योंकि आगे आपके आने वाले टाइम में मतलब ये बहुत ही इट विल कॉज लॉट ऑफ इट विल बी अ रीजन ऑफ कंसर्न, मे बी इट विल कॉज डिजीजेस। So it's crucial time we should think about all these things। और similarly आप अपने फ्रेंड्स को, पेरेंट्स को इसके बारे में अवेयर कर सकते हैं, उन्हें बता सकते हैं कि हाँ इसके क्या साइड इफ़ेक्ट्स हैं और हमें कैसे शिफ्ट होना चाहिए फॉर बायोडिग्रेडेबल सोर्सेज। थैंक यू।
Thank you. Sanjay, I always really enjoy watching people talk about the things that we can do, because, otherwise it's like we always end up with so much information and it can become quite an overload, and it can also leave you feeling quite helpless, because now what do? We have all this information about how plastic is bad for us, but we're so dependent on it. So what can we do? And that's why it's so important to have a session like Sanjay's in all of our webinars. So I hope you learned a lot from our webinar, but it's not over yet. We were supposed to have Abhishek, but he got called away. Remember when I said that we record everything, because things out here can get quite chaotic. So with me today, I have Alekhya. She was the first person to come into our webinar, and we're just going to split her now so that she can come and join us. Okay, so we have Alekhya today, and if you have any questions at all, please feel free to ask. You can also ask her what she does at Loham, Just so you know, she's studied from IIT Madras and she's one of our superstar, hires. So yes.
Thank you, Suzuki, for that. So instead, you asking, let me give you a brief introduction about myself. I think I have missed that in my previous recording. So, hi guys, I'm Alekia. I have did my undergraduation in IIT Madras from chemical engineering. So here right now I am working as an R&D researcher, developing a process for extracting precious metals. This is a very brief introduction about me. If you have any questions, please do ask in the comment section.
So while we're getting ready for some comments, what I would first like to ask you is, why should we extract precious metals?
So basically extraction of precious metals is required because they are used in number of industries, starting from catalysts, jewelry. There are many more applications of that. If we can take catalytic converters, so catalytic converters are those used in automobiles. We use them just to reduce the toxic gas outlet from an automobile or any vehicle like cars or bikes. In that we use platinum, palladium, rhodium, which are called precious metals. So they are very much important for us. So we also concentrate on recycling those metals from the spent waste, e-waste, catalytic waste, jewelry waste, everything.
Interesting. So, I mean, in a way, even using these metals is very sustainable.
Yes,
and
yes.
important for our
And
planet.
Loham concentrates on sustainability by recycling whatever possible to extract the metals instead of like to reduce the carbon print from mining.
Okay, wonderful. So now the next question I'm going to ask you is, how do we decrease the use? I know we had Sanjay talk a lot about it, but do you have any insights on how can we reduce our plastic usage?
So what I can think of is using eco-friendly and eco-sustainable products made of different naturally available materials like bamboos, coconut trees, agriculture waste, banana leaves, everything we can make without using or producing plastics. Even clothes can also be very eco-friendly, made from uh, banana leaves. I guess I have heard that there are many other available choices instead of using plastics. We all have to, as a responsible human on this planet, we have the responsibility to save the planet from these never-ending plastics, never decomposing plastics. So there are so many other ways which we can replace with plastic, replace for plastic.
Vika, do you have any questions? She's come out, but I'm just going to pull her in and ask her if she has any questions for Lekya. You can just say it from that as well.
Yeah, I was asking that do we have any alternate thing that we can use instead of using plastic? Do we right now have anything?
So, for examples, it is already been being followed with many of the food outlets. Before they used to give us plastic spoons and plastic cutlery, but right now we are using wooden cutlery, and also as I suggested, the clothes we wear which are made of plastics. And I think I have mentioned that the microplastics in oceans are majorly because of the clothes textile industries, textile waste. So we have many replaceable options instead of these wearing these nylon clothes or any plastic related clothes. We can replace them with sustainable textiles as well. Yeah, there are a number of other replacements of plastic. Right now, I can quote this one.
Yeah, that is great.
I think also there was that whole thing when David Attenborough took us into he showed us David Attenborough is one of the BBC I think environmentalists and conservationists, and he took us he showed us a view of the ocean where there was so many plastic straws and like toothbrushes everywhere.
Yes.
And even now, whenever I go to like get something which is a cold drink or something that they always give you a plastic straw, and then when I tell them, they just say no, it's biodegradable. So is it biodegradable?
No plastic is biodegradable. It's not at all true. Plastic is not decomposable. It, as we discussed, it is just breakdowns into microplastics, and they don't go from this planet. Whatever, so we do with the current technology. We as researchers and engineers, we have to develop a process to get away with this plastic.
So that is something that all of us should keep in mind is when they say it's biodegradable. I think one question we can ask these manufacturers is how long does it take to biodegrade maybe? And also secondly, when you say, biodegrading, is it actually degrading or is it just kind of breaking into microplastics, which is what plastics do? Okay, we have a question. What other means to replace plastic? I think she's actually talked about that a lot. But if you have anything else,
Yeah, you name it, we can replace it with that is what called innovation means. As you mentioned, there are toothbrushes everywhere. Even we can use bamboo made toothbrushes
Yeah.
also. So all these plastics came into this world only after its invention, right? But before its invention, there was no plastic, but still the world was going right. I think we can move back to some of those days where we don't use plastic. Instead, we use naturally available products just to make our daily life, even more easier.
that's actually such a valid point. And I think if you just go on to kind of like any place, I mean, if you just go to Instagram, it's a treasure trove. But pretty much anywhere if you go, there are so many people who are talking about plastic like replacements, and there are so many eco-friendly things. I think the thing is like for us, we know, so we can talk about it. Like we can look into it. We can do just a little bit of research before we buy something.
Yes.
And for kids, what you can do is, you can tell your parents to do that. Because ultimately, you're the ones who are going to be living on this planet. So do you want to live on a planet full of plastic? Or, hold our parents accountable,
Yes.
right? Okay, so thank you, Alekhya. If you have any more questions, then you just stay down. If you have any more questions, you can go ahead and put them in the comments, and we'll ask Alekhya to answer them through the course of. This video is going to continue to stay on our YouTube channel, so we'll just get her to answer some questions whenever you ask them. So thank you all for tuning in to this webinar. We enjoyed creating it, researching it, and also it was a little disturbing, but the more information you have, the better you can live your life. If you did learn something from it, if you want to share this, the link it's going to be on our channel. You can continue to subscribe to our channel and view it whenever you want to. You can also share it with your communities, your family, your friends. And yeah, share this information with everybody, because ultimately at Loham, we believe that children like you are the future. You are the ones who have the power to change the world, and it is our responsibility to give you the knowledge and the skills to do just that. So this webinar was our way of sharing important information about plastic with you, and how polluting it is, and how harmful it is, and how prevalent it is everywhere. And now it is your turn to share it with your friends, your communities, and also let us know what you are going to do to change this habit. And I'm going to bring Bhumika in.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Alekhya.
Also, coming back to our session, so we also conduct our camps and also workshops on sustainability. So, if you are someone who is interested in having us to your school or to your NGO to conduct any workshop, we are we welcome you all, and you can also reach out to us through our website and also through our social media. So we can also comment down on our chat box that what is our email ID, so you can reach out to us and we can come to your school and NGO to conduct a workshop on sustainability.
Thank you, everyone, and
Happy Earth Day.
Happy Earth Day. Yeah.
Yes, bye.
Bye.